Hey everyone, back to you into today's video. It's JMA Friday, so we're going to do the month-ahead forecast from the Japanese model. We're also going to have a look at the month-ahead from the Beijing Climate Centre. That's just updated as well. And then we'll have a look at the next week to 10 days. We've got a little bit of a discrepancy, really, between the longer range sort of month-ahead models and the shorter range sort of GFS, ECM, GEM models, which are looking very interesting. We'll have a look at those later on in the video. Before I get on with all of that, I just want to mention the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath the web video here on my homepage. And if you have a browse through the widget, any article that you're interested in, just click through when you finish at gavsreviews.com and you'll be able to go off and read those articles. Also, say Gav Shop is open, so if you want to do any shopping at Amazon, just click Gav Shop, the button underneath the video here, and you'll be able to go to the Amazon store. And then the key to it all, really, from the Amazon store is to click the Amazon banners. There's 3 banners in the Amazon store in Gav Shop. Click through those Amazon banners. You'll go off to Amazon and be able to do your shopping as normal, your Christmas shopping. But because you've gone through from Gav Service to Amazon, we will get a revenue fee on the things that you're buying. And these things are really essentially paying the website, helping to sit here and talk to you via the website. So thanks for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. Remember, any Christmas shopping between now and Christmas, go to Amazon from Gav Shop. Right, let's get on with the month ahead from the Japanese model. As I say, it is JMA Friday. Every Friday we have a look at the month ahead forecast from Japan. 500 millibar heights broke down into week periods. The first week period will be taking us from the 6th to the 13th of November. Blue is extrapolating to low pressure. Yellow and orange extrapolating to high pressure. Now for the coming week, we find we've got a deep trough of low pressure around and just to the west of British Isles. A ridge is sitting to the east and the northeast. The jet stream is going something like that, so it's coming right through the country, really. It's near normal sort of temperature. That may be a little bit milder than average because it's Atlantic-driven air, but the main thing is that it's very unsettled. There'll be lots of rain coming in with that, bouts of rain spiralling in off the Atlantic. I think it's a pretty good representation of what we're looking at for the coming week. It's going to be quite an unsettled week. Now, as we go through to the next week period, and this one takes us from the 13th to the 20th, it's very similar, really. Of course, we're losing the deepness of the colours, and that's because we're going further out with the update, so the signal gets ever so slightly weaker. But overall, it's a very similar idea, which is that we've got the trough again sitting around to the west of the country. The ridge is over to the east and the northeast of the country. The jet stream is still in a very similar position, doing something like that. So again, that's another very unsettled week with lots of bouts of rain spiralling up over the country, and not a great deal of cold weather, really, because the air is generally from a southerly type flow between the trough and the ridge. Notice over Greenland, and keep an eye on this because I'm going to show you some charts later on that are at odds with this, but over Greenland, generally to the south of Greenland anyway, it's a case of below average heights. Certainly nothing there that would indicate a great deal of northern blocking. And then as we move through into the final 2 weekly period, and this one takes us from the 20th of November just into the start of December to the 4th of December. What we're looking at then is that, again, it's virtually identical. The trough of low pressure is to the west, the ridge is to the east and to the northeast. There's no real indication that throughout the whole of the coming month pattern is changing a great deal. The jet stream is still going something like that, so we're still throwing up lots of unsettled weather across the country with bands of rain. The wettest weather always in the west, but there will be rain across all parts of the country, and really that's a very wet scenario, I think, that the JMA is seeing for the coming month. There will be flooding concerns on this scenario because the trough of low pressure is just so persistent out to the west. Again, notice over Greenland, no sign of any blocking. Now have a look at the Beijing Climate Centre. These, again, are 500 millibar heights. These are broken down into 10-day periods, though. So the first 10-day period is taking us from the 6th to the 15th Very similar to what I was just looking at with the Japanese model, with the trough of low pressure right over top of the country, maybe a little bit more centred over the country as opposed to the west that we see on the JMA. The ridge in the east is maybe a little bit further east as well compared to the JMA. We have got this ridge in the Atlantic, so that does allow us to pull some cooler air down into the trough of low pressure like that. Don't be thinking that it's a particularly cold trough, it isn't, but somewhat cooler air being pulled down into that trough on that sort of scenario. Now, as we move through to the next 10-day period, this one is a little bit more interesting. We're going from the 16th to the 25th. Remember, on the JMA, there was no sign really blocking over Greenland, but on the Beijing Climate Centre, we are raising the heights over Greenland through that 10-day period. The orange colours are appearing, so that is a ridge, an area of high pressure up over Greenland. Still got the trough more or less centrally based over the British Isles. And I think we'd probably bring down somewhat cooler air, or maybe even some quite cold air at times, into that trough of low pressure. Got this central ridge in the Atlantic as well. That is a colder sort of scenario compared to what we're just looking at on the Japanese model, I think. Notice, again, this trough of low pressure in the east of the United States with cold air being fed in like that. As we go through to the next 10-day period, this one takes us from the 26th of November to the 5th of December. A little bit odd, this one, quite what's going on. We've lost the above average heights over Greenland, so I'll question what's going on over there, because we've got this trough which is moving actually a little bit to the south of the country. The ridge that was in the central Atlantic is also going south as well, so I would have thought to get that sort of scenario you would be getting the area of above average heights really pushing down from the north. So quite what's going on there, I'm not sure, but with the trough anyway centred to the south of the country, that is telling us that we could be feeding in cold air again into that trough of low pressure from the north. Quite an interesting update, this one. From the Beijing Climate Centre, sort of reading between the lines. And then going through to the final 10-day period, this one taking us from the 6th to the 15th of December. Well, the above average heights are back over Greenland and Iceland. We've got the orange colours coming back there. A ridge somewhere in the Atlantic as well. Again, quite an odd one, what's going on there. We are losing the trough over the country. So that could be sort of an idea of high pressure just generally taking over, maybe high pressure from the Atlantic getting together with this area of high pressure up over Greenland and Iceland, and perhaps producing some sort of an area of high pressure around the country. Of course, that would be a cold high pressure, because the high over Greenland and Iceland would have a lot of cold air associated with it, so that could be quite cold, and probably mainly dry with a lot of really hard frost. But I think the update, read between the lines from the Beijing Climate Centre, I've had a look at the temperature forecast during these periods, and then nothing to write home about really, nothing exciting, but looking at these 500 metre height charts, reading between the lines, which is very often what you have to do with these long range models, that is quite an interesting update this morning from the Beijing Climate Centre. The next one I think will be around the 11th of November, so have a look at that. The 500 metre height anomaly flow chart that I've been showing you all week is getting increasingly interesting. These are for 8 to 10 day times. The mean flow chart for 8 to 10 days time. This takes up to around the 17th of November. We've got the ECM on the left, the GFS is on the right, of course. Very, very deep trough of low pressure going down into the United States. As I've explained, they're going to have a really cold plunge in the States, I think, over the next week to 10 days. Back the trough is originating from Canada and has a lot of cold air associated with it. Then the jet stream's coming out into the Atlantic and running through the Atlantic like that. But notice all of this orange and red that we've got up to the north of the country. This is at odds, really, particularly with the Japanese model, not so much with the Beijing Climate Centre, but particularly with the Japanese model. This is at odds because it is blocking in towards the Greenland vicinity, and that is pushing everything southwards. This trough here that they're both showing around British Isles actually being pushed southwards by all of this blocking. Remember yesterday, if you saw a video yesterday, very late with yesterday's update because I had connectivity issues. But if you saw the update yesterday, I explained what we've got to do to get into a cold pattern, and really we've got to take the high pressure at sea to the east and push it towards Greenland, and that is really what the flow charts are showing this morning. morning, and the generic charts are showing this as well, but we have got the potential of starting to push this high pressure towards Greenland. I've been saying over the last few updates that we aren't far from setting up a cold spell, and we're as close as we've ever been this morning to that. So I'll just leave you with the generic charts. Here is the GFS for Friday, low pressure over country on Friday the 14th, a week's time. There's going to be a very unsettled week next week with lots of heavy rain. I'll talk about it more in the week ahead forecast tomorrow. Notice hints of blocking up towards Greenland as we go through to day 10, which is Monday the 17th. The trough is right over the top of the country. The black line here telling us that the jet stream is starting to shift southwards. We're more or less on the cold side of the jet, and increasing sort of signals of blocking up towards Greenland, and that starts to pull down these northeasterly winds. That cold wind begins to feed into this trough of low pressure, so that is close to starting to pull down cold air from the north and the northeast. The ECMWF for a week's time, Friday the 14th, has low pressure really dominating. Notice blocking to the north and the northeast of the country. Going through to day 10, Monday the 17th, again, low pressure is over the coast, but look how much high pressure we've got setting up around Greenland and Iceland, going to the north of Scandinavia. Lots of high pressure there, and that's what I was talking about in yesterday's video, taking the high pressure from the east and the northeast and pushing it over towards Iceland and Greenland. That's exactly what the ECMWF shows. All it would take from that is to move that low pressure in towards France and southern Germany, and we would start to open the floodgates to cold air from the north and northeast. So that's very, very close to setting into a cold pattern. And the GEM does actually do it. This is the day 10 chart, Friday the 14th. Again, low pressure over country, lots of blocking to the north and the northeast. Look what it shows for the day 10 chart. That was day 8, I should say. Look what it shows for the day 10 chart, and it's done it. It's pushed that low pressure down towards France and sent it off towards Germany. It's allowed this area of high pressure to really take over Scandinavia and reaching up towards Iceland and Greenland. And follow the isobars back, the winds are going into the east. The air is beginning to originate from Russia. Another 24 hours on, and we will be pushing cold air in from the east. Now, of course, remember, it's only November, so we won't be looking at a severe spell if easterly winds do come off. But on that scenario, it could certainly get cold enough for some wintry showers, at least, to be moving in from the east. Only probably 24 hours on from that. Now, the GEM is not the best model. The best two models are the ECM and the GFS. The GEM is always a little bit different in the extended range, but the other two, the GFS and the ECM, are not far away from that. All it takes that trigger low that they have over the country on day 10 to just shift a little bit more to south-southeast, and that would open the floodgate. So we've got to keep an eye on this. I've been saying it over the last few videos over and over. We've got to keep an eye on this. It has always been looking like it's very close setting up a cold pattern. We're as close as we've ever been this morning. Nothing cold in the next week, 10 days. I have to emphasise, we're talking about beyond day 10, really. So let's just keep an eye and see where this is going. But it looks like things could be getting increasingly interesting as we get towards the final week to 10 days of November. Right, that's it. I've gone on long enough. Hope you found the video interesting. It's the weekend forecast. Won't come about that. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.